Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Greetings, race fans, and welcome to Apex Racing TV's presentation of the Radical Esports Cup. J.R. Gregory here with you on the call. Beside me in the commentary booth, Tom Dillon, and in the production carrier, our friend and colleague, Joshua Wilkie, and the star of today's show, the Radical SR10. 425 horsepower, only 725 kilos, no traction control, and no anti-lock brakes. And folks, we are showing the top split of the public server 2100 GMT Friday, as we always do. So this is not a league event. This is not a private event. If you would like to give these radicals a whirl and appear with us here on Apex Racing TV, just mark that on your calendar, 2100 GMT Friday. And I'm here to tell you these cars are a handful, but mastery of the Radical SR10 will make you better at every car that you drive. In our upcoming schedule, fantastic: Interlagos, Mosport, Barber, Sebring, Road America, and put a circle around this one, folks. Green Hell Under the Stars. That one is going to be a cracking race. And this week, here we are at beautiful Mount Panorama Bathurst in week 6. This track has an 85-year history, and this is technically a street circuit. What you're seeing a lot of the way around Bathurst here is on public roads, and there are some homes up here that are reachable only by the racetrack. So when that lottery win comes in for me, you can look for my address on Skyline Drive. 23 turns, 3.8 miles or 6.2 clicks, and a fairly dramatic elevation change of about 175 meters or 571 feet, fairly similar to the height of the Corkscrew Laguna Seca stateside. And of course, this track is home to Australian Supercars, a yearly 12-hour endurance race, amateur track days, and many others. So, Tom, I had an opportunity to take a spin out here. I joined the practice for the 12 o'clock race session today, and this Radical is an absolute beast on this track. All that mechanical grip, all those medium speed corners where these Radicals are able to generate some aero, get some extra downforce. An absolute riot to drive these things. And these races, we've been here every season for the last couple seasons. These races have consistently been an absolute hoot. So I am looking forward to this one, and I'm sure you are as well.
Yeah, Bathurst is one of the great tracks around the world. I think we can all agree that. I'm not sure we can call it a mountain as such. probably call it a large hill. And I think that stat, the most shocking thing actually from what you just said, is how big the corkscrew actually is at Laguna Seca, because there's a lot of elevation change around at this circuit. We're on board with Dennis Kirakopoulos at the moment. He's making his way around the final corner. We were saying that 58s seem to be absolutely the barrier for where drivers were going to be at the end of this qualifying session. Right now, we've got a couple of drivers that look like they might even pierce into the high 57s. It would be a little bit of an improvement, about 3/10 from Pjörk, his current best lap time. But we're definitely getting there. These guys are very, very fast.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And I got to tell you, I was feeling pretty good about myself. I took about a second off of my personal best earlier and got into the 2-minute flat. And at that pace, this track is not at all smooth, and you are bouncing and banging and taking risks on curbs, and what can only be described as careening around this course to get into those high 58s that you're seeing. So these guys have some outstanding car control and a lot of practice in these radicals, and those lap times are indeed impressive. And as qualifying winds down here, we're riding along with Andreas Friedrich. Let me just run through the season top 10 as it stands right now with about a minute to go in qualifying. James Berry will retain the top spot on the season here in week 6, followed by Bruno Vitorino, Andreas Friedrich, and Heinz Braun. No change from last week. Sally Reitinen moves up 1 position into P5. Paki Caruso also up 1 into P6. Marco Weaver joining the top 10 here from outside of it last week. Denis Kyriakopoulos, I'll never say it right. I should just give up. Will be in P8. Tonio Ordieres in P9, and Lasse Sorensen in P10. He is also new in the top 10. So as you can see, this is a great show to watch here on Apex Racing TV. We have a handful of the top 10 drivers in the world out here, as we do for this session every week. So looking forward to another barn burner here as we see Friedrich. That is a problem spot there coming out of Murray's corner there onto the front straight. A little difficult to get the power down, and also can be a little dicey getting the cars slowed up. So that will be a trouble spot that we'll keep an eye on. But my goodness, Tom, last time we were here, we saw nonstop action up there into Griffin's Bend at the top of the hill. People were going in there side by side from flag to flag, essentially. And my goodness, that bomb down the back straight into the chase. There were 2 and 3 wide multiple times. So this is going to be an exciting one. And there is your starting grid in P1. Philip Vandenherk with that scorching 157.7. And we did see cars get into the 57s. Holy cow. He'll have Friedrich next to him in P2. Behind them, Barry and Kjetil Larson. Denis Kyriakopoulos there in P5. Gullikson there next to him in 6. Hulkinen and Sorensen in 7 and 8. Reitinen and Strumbach in 9 and 10. Heinz Braun and Jorge Gonzaga there in 11 and 12. Johannes Hesterman will be next to Pedro Tamaladri in the final row 7. So as we wait for the green here, we've got about a minute remaining until iRacing forces the field onto the track, and cars are kind of dribbling on here, as you can see. So we'll wait for that green with you, and that is your pole sitter there to your right. Vandenherk, we're now in the car with him. He'll have the inside line here into Hell Corner. And remember, no pace lap here. So we're going to be taking off with these high-powered radicals, ice-cold tires, no traction control, and they can be a handful to get off the line. And I was just reviewing our Imola broadcast from last week, and Vandenherk, not to jinx him here, but he lost 5 positions on the start at Imola, and I know he's hoping for better here today. And about 10 seconds left, and here are the lights. We will be underway at Bathurst momentarily, and green, and here we go. Vandenherk again struggling out the line. Friedrich is going to sneak around the outside, and Friedrich is going to have P1 maybe here in the first corner. They're still side by side with James Berry sniffing around behind, followed by Larson and Gullikson, and Vandenherk somehow manages to squeeze ahead, and deja vu all over again. Barry and Friedrich there in those matching liveries. That is not a coincidence. Those two are teammates. They work together, practice together. And last week they had, I'm going to say, Christoph Lipp in there sights and Imola for the entire race, and they're going to do the same thing to Van den Herk here today.
Well, up the hill the field goes, and I have to say, a bit lucky from Philip van Herk. He got a huge slide out on into that first corner, on the exit of that first corner, hell corner, and well, was able to just about regain the lead of the race. And now he's got a couple of attempts, and look at the field go as they stream through so close to the barrier. JR, nothing being left on the table at the moment for any of these guys.
Yeah, and Tom, these 57s, you're not getting a 57 and having your mirrors look the same as they looked prior. And woo, and there's a big moment there. That was Heinz Braun cutting the corner there, overcooking, coming off Skyline there. And one would think that he may be looking at a slowdown here. We'll see how he progresses down Conrad Straight, but Braun able to keep it out of the barrier at least. And just Sturmbachen liking what he's seeing there. He's going to want to see if he can take advantage of the bobble by Braun. And meanwhile, there is who is the green car? Is that a back marker already? Who is car 3? I'm completely lost. Interesting, and there's Andreas Friedrich taking the shortcut or long cut there. You see him immediately get on the brakes. He picks up a slowdown, and that is going to completely bust up the top of the Reading here. It's now going to be Van den Herk from Barry, from Larson, from Gullikson, from Sorensen. Sorensen getting the most advantage out of all that kerfuffle on the opening lap. He's moved up into P5 from P8, and Friedrich, meanwhile, plummeting from P2 all the way down into P8, a loss of 6. Ouch.
Oh, we've got a replay of that off track because we're on board with Andreas Frederick as they go down into the chicane. Is he just going to outbrake himself? That looks to me like that's exactly what's happened. Gone all the way onto the grass, and that's a slowdown penalty. Pretty slam dunk, even though he's pretty much slowed himself down in that situation. Here's the race leader then, Philip van den Herk. Now, James Barry a little bit down on iRacing from him, but we know James Barry is a very competent driver, and especially with the toe here at Bathurst, a huge chance for him if he's able to get in that slipstream properly as they go down the back straight, the Conrad straight. Then a big chance that maybe he can squeeze himself into the race lead. But Philip van den Herk, well, is number 1 car for a reason inside of this lobby. Meanwhile, Larson in 3rd. He's got himself a pretty healthy gap back to 4th.
Yeah, and Barry, absolute beast in these cars. Van den Herk is sitting on about a 7.2K I rating, so he is no slouch. But Barry, as I said, leading the season so far. He was our season champion last season, so Barry has put the time in to become a master of these radicals. And watch our timing tower, folks. You can watch that draft at work there. Watch the gap between Barry and Herk, 0.6, 0.5, and dropping all the way down into the 0.4s now. He may not be close enough to strike this lap, but he will certainly be all over Van den Herk, and we're going to see a great race between these two today. I know that Barry would have preferred to have his teammate up there with him, but he's going to know what to do even without his teammate Friedrich up there with him to put the pressure on Van den Herk.
So huge battle going on really all the way from Rattinen back to Braun. We'll see if there's going to be a move here. Number 7 car looks to the inside into Hell's corner, but it's more of a showing his nose for the sake of it. They're not really going to be able to get the run on Andreas Frederick, who out off turn 1. Now starts to apply the pressure, looking forward. Braun keeping an eye on this battle, the number 2 car, trying to get himself past Rassinen as they go down into the second corner, moving to break the toe. It will be the long way around then for Andreas Friedrich if he's going to be able to make the move. They hit the brakes, can't quite find his way through. Heinz Braun seizing the opportunity up the inside line, and that, dare I say it, as he gets himself cleared, does he, is a fantastic move. Very opportunistic, and that's what you need.
Wow, absolutely, and the passing opportunities are few and far between there. And I just saw somebody out, that was Hulkinen, got a piece of the wall. That radical somehow still moving, but yeah, you're absolutely right, Tom. A great opportunistic move now, riding with Hulkinen. Ooh, I don't know, he may have picked up some damage there, but yeah, fantastic opportunistic move. And you really do have to take advantage of those when it comes up. And I got to tell you, it takes some stones to contest braking there on that entry to Griffin, and bang, there's a replay of Hulkinen, and that rear suspension is not in the same geometry as it was when it left the pits prior to the start here.
Down into the final corner. I say the final corner of the mountain, and there's a huge dive down the inside. I think that was potentially apologise about that name. Matt's just jumped back and I believe trying to make the move, and now as they go down the Conrad straight, goes to the inside line, trying to find his way through, might be 3 wide briefly here as Hulkinen trying to get involved after being in the wall earlier on in the race. He's on the inside of Gonzaga. Here we go, hitting the brakes. Gonzaga losing 2 positions. Looks like Hulkinen is going to find his way through. So Jose Gonzaga, after having a couple of pretty impressive runs over the last couple of weeks, has found himself, as we're into the 57s by the way, has found himself falling down the order a little bit. That's a storming lap time from James Barry, 57.7, JR.
Yeah, Barry lit the wick there, and my timing is showing that as a full second faster than Vandenherk, and he has had enough of the chase. He's going to take advantage of the draft up into Griffin's Bend here. It's going to be Barry from Herc. And from Vandenherk, and Gullickson has now moved up into P3. That's somebody we haven't seen on the podium before. And now it's going to be up to Barry to try to stretch that gap. He'd sure like to be a second ahead coming off the mountain through Forest Elbow there so that you don't fall victim to the massive slipstream effect coming down the Conrad Straight here at Mount Panorama. And so far Barry already able to stretch it up to about 0.3. See if he can stretch that out any further. Herc doing a good job hanging on to the back of Barry though so far.
James right then 0.3 of a second into the lead. And you think actually this is the best opportunity he's had so far. If I'm right in saying he fell a little bit short last week, wanted that extra little bit just to get himself into the winning column, and looks like he's doing that today. But Herc will be pushing him as much as he can, and that slipstream, part of the reason why James Barry was so much faster, and well, he's really having to rely on maybe Van der Herk making a mistake here in the slipstream. Look at how much he's going to catch up down the Conrad straight all the way through. Might just be on the bumper by the time they hit the brakes for the chicane. Philip Van der Herk with a huge overspeed, but backs out of it. That's what that looks like to me.
100%. He backed out of that, and he definitely had an opportunity there. Barry had that gap up to about 0.6 entering into Forest Elbow, that difficult off-camber corner coming off the mountain. Barry bobbled that exit a little bit and gave Herc a chance, and I 100% agree that Vandenherk backed out of that and is wanting to save that for another lap. Interesting stuff here.
Rettinen trying to get himself through on the number 7 cart, goes to the car to the inside line, can't find a way through there. Then looks like Rettinen goes off of the track, not Rettinen off the track, looks like the 7 goes off the track, and Rettinen able to get through in that way. Then under more pressure as well right there. So that, not the ideal situation actually. I make that actually possibly Andreas Frederick that went off the track. It's Heinz Braun. No, so it's Heinz Braun that he went off the track. If I can get that sorted in the end. Back to the battle for the lead of the race, then JR and Van den Herk absolutely all over the back of James Barry. But I sense here this might be a little bit of esports gamesmanship, just staying in that slipstream, waiting to maybe make the move in the last couple of laps. And I think James Barry will be aware of that fact. In my mind, he's got a little bit early.
Yeah, and great eye by our producer there, Josh, pulling up that replay of Reitinen and Braun. And Reitinen and Braun have their own battle going, and they have probably a mildly irritated Andreas Friedrich sniffing around behind them. Remember, he started in P2, had a couple problems, and is trying to push his way back toward the podium. So Reitinen and Braun have not only each other to contend with, but Friedrich wants to get them behind him ASAP and get back up to the front of this one. And here we see Friedrich coming down Conrad Straight, and watch that gap falling, looking forward to Braun. He may be close enough to try to stick it inside here, and Braun looks like he wants to cover the inside. What is Friedrich going to do here? Oh, Friedrich thought about sticking it in there under braking, and then thought better of it. So he's going to have to spend another lap behind those two, and Josh is going to show us a replay of another pass here. And it looks like Reitinen is reeling in his countryman, potentially Sorensen. Horrible with the flags. And whoo, look at that draft. Nothing Sorensen could do about that as Reitinen flies by him like Sorensen was pulling an anchor on that one. And that is the nature of the draft in these radicals, kind of like auto DRS there.
Yeah, interesting to make that move into the sort of left-hander, right-hander rather than waiting for the chase. You don't normally see that to be honest. But either way, that's the move that he went for. This battle then for 8th position for 6th position is really heating up. And Andreas Frederick, a little tap of the wall there as he went up the hill. That'll take him out of contention for the time being. Another tap of the wall. You can see bodywork flying everywhere. These guys having to almost overdrive these cars in order to keep up with each other. And Lasse Sorensen is hugely into the wall. That is going to be, I believe, a little bit of crabbing, and I think that suspension is totally destroyed. He's struggling.
Yeah, that concrete barrier completely unforgiving, and you slide into that, hit, and have an impact square on that right rear wheel there, and that Radical is hurting. See, Sorensen tries to limp it around or just takes it into the pits at this point. And meanwhile, up front, we did have a change of position in the last lap. Vandenhert got past Barry, and now Barry has reeled him down, coming down Conrad straight to about 3/10. So those two are probably not done changing positions, and Josh is going to pull that up here. And yeah, that's a live shot there coming into Murray's. And yeah, here is Barry there in the 6th car. Vandenhert behind. Looks like Vandenhert is going to get him coming into Griffin's Bend. I love this move. Barry elects not to defend this one. And yeah, he backed out of that. He was not interested in the side-by-side action. Sometimes people don't want to back out there, and with that creates some of the best moments here at Bathurst when you see cars banging doors, careening up that super high-speed left-hander there at Griffin's. And here we are back in the same spot again. Barry has Vandenhert cranked down to about 0.25, and we'll see if he can stay with him coming over the mountain.
That's got to be the name of the game now for James Barry. Here's the move around the outside. Andreas Friedrich on Heinz Braun. Can't get the car collected up, and Heinz Braun is able to go through. The problem for James Barry now is that he's got to keep up with the best driver on the grid, to put it simply, and that is easier said than done. He's just got to trust himself that he'll be able to make that move on the final lap, and that Herc will be a sitting duck. You don't want to move too early at this point now.
And my goodness, great camera work by our producer, Josh. You can just see those Radicals wiggling and fighting for grip as they bounce over those curbs coming over Skyline. The car gets light there. It's bumpy. And if you get a little bit of curb, that could break that nice seal the Radical splitter makes with the track. And here we go, storming down Conrad Straight. Vandenhert did a good job of stretching the gap that time, down to about 0.5. But again, you just see it ticking down. It's down to 0.4 already. It's down to 0.3. It's going to get down to 0.2. And Barry here looks like he's going to back off here and save it for the next lap. But great stuff going on up front. And it is Vandenhert from Barry. It looks like Gullikson has gotten past Kettle Larson. So a new P3 there as well. There's fights going on throughout this field. And there is Friedrich. Gets a little love tap from Heinz Braun. Friedrich finally got past Braun. Braun fighting it hard all the way, and is not done with Friedrich. He wants that back.
Heinz Braun now trying to defend a little bit. Sorensen just behind him, overdriving slightly into the final corner. Got slightly sideways, I think. We'll see what happens here as they exit Hell's Corner. It's just ahead. Frederick overdriving again. Overdriving, Josh just said it in our ear as well, but it seems to have been a theme of this race, actually. Everyone just trying to chuck it up the mountain. No one driving conservatively at all, and I think that's costing a lot of drivers in this field, Joe.
Yeah, it is, and something to keep in mind too. You know, it is Friday. It's the end of a long week, and the track changeover was Monday evening. So these drivers have been fighting each other all week long, scrapping for those points. And my goodness, it's just kind of the nature of Bathurst. You know, you look at your lap times, and I really could use another 0.5 somewhere. Where am I going to get it? You're going to get it by taking big chances and by sliding that car where you probably shouldn't and where you might not if it was really your flesh and blood butt in the seat, because there are some big impacts up here, as I'm sure our fans of sports car racing know that have watched the 12. There are massive accidents up here, and you know, taking a risk up here is taking a huge risk, to be sure. And it's still Vandenhert from Barry, from Gullikson, from Larson, and Kyriakopoulos up there into P5. And our big mover right now, looks like Gullikson, Reitinen, and Braun have all gained 3. And where is Friedrich? Yeah, Friedrich's still sitting at -5, and you know he's frustrated by that. And we're about to start lap 9 now. Vanden Herk still has a lead over Barry, and we're getting to the point now where you got to think Barry is biding his time, as you pointed out, Tom, possibly waiting for the last lap.
I think he's exactly waiting for the last lap. He wasn't even pushing to get the toe there down the Conroy Straight. It's here. It's a similar story actually for Havard. Gullisken doing a good job in third at the moment. He's seeded 4th, so outperforming where you'd expect him to be. It's side by side for the lead of the race actually for a moment. It's here we go down into the right-hander by the looks of things. James Barry just putting that pressure on, but he has got Philip Vanden Herk exactly where he wants him at the moment, making sure that he's in position to pull the trigger when he wants to. And Vanden Herk, he's not taken a racing line for pretty much the entirety of this race. I'm not sure really what he's thinking, honestly, because I think he'd get the position back anyway if James was able to make the move right now. But James Barry is not letting Philip Vanden Herk breathe whatsoever.
Yeah, he isn't, and you're definitely right, Tom. Great observation. Vanden Herk's driving and his choice of lines being impacted by Barry polishing his bumper, and he's managing to stay ahead of Barry. But if you're not taking the correct driving line, you're driving defensively, covering the inside line, you're taxing your tires a lot more than the person behind who is pushing. But just as I say that, look at Vanden Herk's gap now. He managed to pull out a 8/10 gap over the top of the mountain here, which will let him take a breath, shake out his hands, and buckle down for the last 3 laps here. Barry will reel him in a little bit, of course, coming down the hill, but completely out of striking distance that time, thanks to Vanden Herk's great work over the mountain.
As down into the chicane they go, and you can see this wide panning shot as also all of the top 3 just behind, 3rd, 4th and 5th. A little bit more of a gap between Sully Rattinen and the car just behind him of Andreas Frederick. We're back to the battle for the lead of the race. 3 laps to go when we get to the line. Here we go then, 10, 11 and 12. Just the 3 laps for James Barry to try and make his move. And I have to say, he can pull the trigger whenever he wants. He has got Philip Vanden Herk exactly where he wants him, and Philip Vanden Herk is defending like mad, even though he arguably probably doesn't need to at this point in the race. As James Barry here to the outside line, won't look for the lead of the race, and in fact will stay exactly behind. But he's just prowling, lapping fastest, 57.7 lapped, albeit a 10th of a second slower than Philip Vanden Herk on the last lap. That doesn't really matter too much at this stage, but look at this. He knows that any corner he wants to make a move here, he can make that move, and I'm sure he will.
Yeah, great game of cat and mouse, and we've had the pleasure of chatting with James Barry, and we may hear from him today after this one. He is absolutely a strategist, and he knows when he's outmatched in raw speed and still manages to make the correct strategic choices and the correct plays and stay up front at the pointy end of the field, and the numbers don't lie, folks. James Barry, P1 on the season here, halfway through the iRacing season in week 6, and Vanden Herk has stretched that gap again to 7/10. And due to the massive slipstream effect of these radicals, James Barry will be with him down here at the bottom of the Conrad Straight. And choices, Tom. What do you think he's going to do?
Well, he's lost a little bit of time on this lap. He'll gain that back, no doubt, in the slipstream. I think Barry has got to fancy his chances here and wait until that final lap. Don't leave it too late. Just wait till that final lap. Go for the move and back yourself to make it his Sully Rattinen to the outside. He goes into the chase on the outside line. Andreas Frederick looking to defend, but swooping around the outside is Sully Rattinen. A good move.
Yeah, that was a sweet move by Rattinen, and Friedrich not getting any favors on his way back up through the field. No one is getting out of his way. They know that he's a top runner. They know that he qualified P2, but you know what? You make a mistake, you got to earn all those positions back, and Friedrich getting resistance at every turn, and yeah, fantastic move into the chase there by Rattinen. Really good stuff.
Background Heinz Braun trying to get himself ahead of Andreas Frederick. Is what's happening here? Sully Rattinen is pinging out of existence. Surely Andreas Frederick can see him because he looks to the outside line to try and get past him. That's interesting. I'm not too sure. Andreas Frederick can see him there. Heinz Braun is flashing his lights. Presumably something to do with that on the penultimate lap of the race in any case, and we've got side-by-side action. This is albeit for 13th position as through goes Pedro G. Temelardi. A good move for him.
Yeah, I don't think Braun was very happy about the use of the cloaking device on that lap by Drayton, and clearly holding up Friedrich. Might have had a crack at him there in Griffin's Bend, but it is tough when you kind of have to guess where the car is as they flash in and out of our plane of existence, as you saw there, and back up to Drayton, and seems to have stabilized now for the time being. So it's Drayton from Friedrich from Braun in 6, 7, and 8. And in honor of our old friend Ron, I'm going to say that you could throw a blanket over those radicals. And here comes James Barry. Oh, and it comes to blows. Also in honor of our old friend Ron, there is some banging there as the entry to chase is contested. Barry knocks Vandenherk off the track. I'm sure that resulted in a slowdown, and Josh is going to show us that one again for sure. And Vandenherk dropping back. Vandenherk serving that slowdown has fallen to P5, and that is going to leave James Barry to drive off, and we are going to be taking another look at that. Barry takes the white flag as Vandenherk thinks about what might have been and picks the grass out of his teeth as he goes careening off the track. 150 miles per hour to be sure. That was nuts, and we definitely will take a peek at that here shortly as we watch the top 5 entering Griffin's Bend. And here is that replay. So here we see James Barry in the draft of Vandenherk. Vandenherk covering the inside. Barry goes right. And, ooh, interesting. A little hip check there, but Vandenherk may have turned in on him a little there. He had to know he was there. Plenty of track width there. And I would think that Vandenherk could have left him a little bit more room. And gosh, I would love it if Philip stopped by the booth after the race and gave his perspective on that. I'm sure we're going to be talking to James, and certainly nothing intentional or unsportsmanlike by Barry there. And I'm sure he was feels bad that is how that battle turned out, because it was a fantastic battle throughout the race. But now it's Barry from Gullikson from Larson, and Gullikson and Larson are two names that I have not seen in podium positions in the Radical Esports Cup thus far. So those guys are having a hell of a drive this afternoon. And here is Kyriakopoulos with Vandenherk behind him on the final lap. And is Vandenherk going to try to wiggle his way up into P4? And it looks like he is going to, and Denis is not going to contest that. Well, oh, I spoke too soon. More contact. My goodness, things getting salty. Oh, my goodness. And that will put them both off with a slowdown. It's tough to serve that slowdown before start and finish, so that will end up in a time penalty. And Vandenherk, our highest rated driver with the 7.2 I rating, the wheels completely falling off of his race as James Barry casually rolls across the start finish for the win. And there's more. What has happened? Something in the water in Australia as Heinz Braun overshoots there. And I've got iRacing comms in one ear right now, folks. And my Swedish, Finnish, and Norwegian are all rusty, but there's some salty talk being exchanged. And now Josh is going to show us this incident again with Barry. And Tom, why don't you tell me what your analysis of the situation is?
Yeah, well, I think it's the racing incident. I watched it a couple of times now. James has moved very, very late, hasn't he? Honestly, it's one of those where I'm going to put the fault on James Barry. I don't know if necessarily, I don't know if necessarily there's anything against the rules here, and Philip should have seen him coming. But it's such a late move. You know, Philip at this point, he's already looking to turn into the corner, and James has just moved so late. That's overly aggressive. I'm not 100% sure you'd get a penalty for that if how the rules would work, because it isn't a braking zone, but it is a very, very late move.
It's a late move, but effective. I would say that they crossed the apex side by side. That is position under the rules, and it was the last lap, and Vandenherk had to see that relative dropping and had to see that one coming. So I'm going to call that one a racing incident, and reasonable minds will differ. And again, here is Braun and the invisible man there, Sorensen, and Braun, cuts Murray's Bend. That curb there is the size of a water buffalo, and you saw the result of getting too much of that curb. He gets thrown off into the Armco. Very typical result there. So, wow. And finally, things heated here toward the end. Here's Van den Herk on Kyriakopoulos, and boy, a little bit of a squeeze there, and maybe should have left him a little room. Kyriakopoulos ends up in the grass, and there's nothing that he can do, and he's going to collect them both. And Josh, I'm getting a little PTSD from our 12 hours of Bathurst. This looks pretty similar to our race ending incident. Bam, there goes the Ferrari. But
I mean, that's Dennis's fault, in my opinion. He's just outbroke himself, locks up and goes straight into the side. Well, I love a little bit of spice at the end of my race.
Wow, that was nuts. Well, I'm hearing the conversation is going on in iRacing.com, so we'll hear Barry's view of that for sure. But let's go ahead and get those results, Tom, and why don't you run through those with the gang, and I'll look out in the hall here and see if James is out there waiting to speak to us.
I love the metaphors. James Barry then wins in a slightly controversial style, albeit, but a really good pace from him throughout the race to win by 3 seconds to Harvard Gullisken. It'll feel a bit fortunate to be in second position, but he gets there in any case. A good drive from him. A Norwegian actually in third position, Keshi Larsen. Philip Herk will be disappointed with his fourth. Fifth place is Dennis Kyriakopoulos. A really good drive from him to get back up the order. Sully Rattinen in sixth. Then it's Andreas Frederick and Mats Jusserbacken in eighth position. Jorge Gonzaga in ninth. Lasse Sorensen in 10th. Rest of your grid, all these drivers only separated by about 5 tenths of a second or so from each other. Johannes Hesterman, Heinz Braun, Pedro G. Radri, and Mika Hulken.
Wow, what a race. And as I had hoped, I do see James Barry out in the hallway, so let me go ahead and grab him, Tom, and you can grill him about that little contact with Van den Herk there toward the end and see what his perspective is. The chat discussion is still going on in the iRacing session, but yeah, here is your winner, James Barry, Tom.
Well, James, first of all, congratulations, but second of all, to address the elephant in the room, slightly controversial end there with a little incident with Philip. What's your take on it?
It's an interesting one. We've just been talking about it in the post-race chat. So I went, I had to pick a side. I had the overspeed. I wanted to make the move. I had to pick a side. You can go to the left when the track goes right, you can kind of wash out to the left, or you can go for the inside on the right. So I went for the inside because that's where the space was. And then, inevitably, when the track kinks to the right, my car's going to wash out a little bit, even if I'm going as far to the right as possible. Philip left space, but he left the minimal space, in my opinion. I think he should have left a tiny bit more space. There was a little bit of net code as well, and that's why my car touched his. I didn't want it to end that way, and I don't know if it was reckless on my part, but I struggled to see what I could have really done differently there.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. The only criticism we had in the box, maybe you moved a little bit late, but I don't know what you'd say to that.
Well, at the end of the day, we're all very competent racers, I'd like to think, and a late move is still a move, and if the space is there, it's there to be gone for. And maybe I moved too far to the right in the initial part, which compromised my angle going into the kink to the right, and that's why I washed out a bit to the left. But no, in terms of lateness, I had to go for it. So I think, I don't know, I'll let other people decide.
Yeah, well, good assessment anyway, James. And other than that, congratulations on the win. Obviously, it's not going to be taken away from you. So otherwise, a well-judged race and a really good drive.
Yeah, it was good fun. So yeah, thank you guys. Cheers.
Cheers, James Barry.
And Jamie, I just got to pop in and put my 2 cents in. I think that was a hell of a move, and I would call that a racing incident and call you clear for that for what it's worth. So thanks for stopping by.
I think I dragged him out prematurely there. My apologies, JR.
Oh,
I
no.
didn't realise you were going to. He'll have seen it. Oh well. Yeah, I mean, an interesting end to the race in any case, JR. All for me that I have to say, honestly. That was interesting, and I love a few fireworks.
Yeah, fantastic race, and Bathurst never disappoints. And I know James will be checking out our broadcast later, so he'll hear my 2 cents at that point for what they're worth. Probably every cent of those 2 cents. But we are not just about radicals here on Apex Racing TV. Let me just give you the rundown of what's coming up this weekend. Sunday, 2 Ray Esports events: SRF Weekend Warriors at Oberschleben and Formula Ford Weekend Warriors at Mosport. And Monday, we will start the week strong with our brand new Apex Racing League sports cars at Imola and the Rickmatek Touring Car Challenge at VIR. That's multi-class action at a fantastic multi-class track. And my goodness, Hui, that was a barn burner. I bet you are glad that you joined us. We sure are. And so that is going to wrap it up. J.R. Gregory here on behalf of myself, on behalf of my partner, Tom Dillon, and Joshua Wilkie in the production carrier. Thank you so much for joining us. Happy Friday, and have a fantastic weekend.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.